Hello, welcome to New Canaan Library. Thank you all for coming out on this beautiful fall evening. We appreciate your being here. My name is Heather Semino. I coordinate adult programs here at the library, and we are pleased to partner with Staying Put in New Canaan this evening to bring you what is part one of a three-part series on living well now and later in your life. So if you're interested in the other two parts, there's a flyer over on the table there that you can grab, or you can go onto our website, newcanaanlibrary.org, to get information about upcoming programs. So tonight we're going to be talking about wills, trusts, and probate. So we have Mike Murphy here with us. But before I'd like to thank first Kim Herr of Staying Put. She's the one that organized this series, and she's done a lot of work, and we appreciate that. And I also want to welcome Gina Bloom, who is the executive director of Staying Put in New Canaan, and she will take the show from here and introduce the rest of our speakers. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'm Gina Blum, and I wanted to welcome you this evening on behalf of Staying Put in New Canaan. A big thank you to the library for collaborating with us, supporting our efforts, and hosting this event. It's so important to bring programming like this to the community to strengthen it. Staying Put in New Canaan is a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to help older New Canaan residents live confidently at home and to stay engaged and active in the community. And we accomplish that by providing essential services, by giving trusted support, and by providing important social connections for people. If you're not already involved with us, we invite you to join us as a member, a volunteer, or a supporter. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce you to Ken Gamble, who is a dedicated member of our board of directors, and he will be introducing our guest speaker tonight.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you all for having me. This is quite a venue, and I really appreciate you allowing me to be here. But Ken is too nice of a guy to tell you that I'm from Darien, so let's just get that out of the way right now. But no, I'm happy to be here. And really, kind of what we're talking about boils down to what happens when somebody passes away. And it seems simple, but human nature being what it is the easiest thing in the world to put off. I mean, Ken was at his desk like I was at my desk when September 11th happened, and you'd be amazed at the people who were earning a great living and had children and had nothing in place. It was really, really eye-opening. We get it all the time, where if people didn't get on airplanes, I don't think half the estate planning would get done that gets done, because one spouse or the other said, look, we can't travel together. We got to get this thing done. And so I recommend, if you're thinking about it, give yourself a deadline, give your attorney a deadline, but it's, like I said, it's so easy to put off. Don't get hung up on, I can't figure out who my executor is going to be. Put the wrong person in there, but at least you get it done. You can always switch it later. If you take nothing out of tonight other than that, it's more important to get it done than it is to get it perfect. So let me back up a second, and I find I don't have an outline or anything on purpose, because I find these discussions are much better with your involvement. So don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask a question, because I have a feeling half of you have the same question. So just jump in, and happy to address it at any time. But let me start with, we'll kind of take it in order. Estate planning. What happens when you die? It's better to get that stuff in order. It generally starts with a questionnaire. You don't need it now, though I see some of you grabbed them. I put some questionnaires out there on the table. I recommend that you take it when you leave. I tell clients all the time, if nothing else, it helps you organize your thoughts. Oh, okay. Am I a U.S. citizen? What's my family situation? Give me the names of all. It just makes that meeting with your attorney that much more efficient, because you've had some time to think about it. You put pen to paper. You put your assets together. And then part of that questionnaire will say, okay, something happens to you. How do you want things divided? Is it an everything to my spouse? Is it an even split with your children? How old are those children? It's a great resource. Like I said, take it. It's there. That could be very useful for you going forward. But when we get the call for an estate plan, that's what we send out. We get together, and more than likely, you end up with a will, maybe a revocable trust. And it's not just the wills. I'm sure all of you have dealt with doctors and HIPAA violations and stuff. You need the healthcare proxy, who can access your information and all that kind of stuff. There's a real focus on that in dealing with your doctors or nurses or what have you. You get the wrong one, it's impossible to get any information. I don't know if any of you dealt with it when your children went to college. At 18, they can make their own decisions themselves. So a lot of these colleges will have their own form of healthcare proxy that they want you to sign. I had my son twist an ankle in an intramural game, and guess what? Nobody would talk to me because I didn't have it filled out. So it's there's just a lot, and it's really important to get it done. And then when I say get it done, it's a matter of, what's the right estate plan for you? And that's an individual type of thing. And then you get a lot thrown out at you. I'm sure you've seen advertisements for what they call a revocable trust. I think there are companies out there, especially on Sundays when you're reading the paper, they really push it. In Connecticut, I don't know that it's right for every person, but I think the older you are, the better it is for you. Somebody starting out at 30 years old with a couple of kids and they're healthy, we can do it now, we can do it later. But if you're older, it makes a lot more sense. I tell people all the time, if we had a crystal ball, we'd know exactly what to do and when, but we don't. So you play the odds a little bit and say, what's the likelihood of this or that, or whatever it may be. It's just that's why that estate planner is so good. It organizes your thought. Maybe you come in with a lot of questions. What's the best way to set this up? I've got a vacation home out of state. That's a minefield because God forbid something happens to you. You could end up probating in Connecticut and someplace else. That's a bit of a nightmare. But if you put it in a trust in the other state, you don't have to, or put it in an LLC or something like that. So it all depends where you are in life and what you're trying to accomplish. Can I ask you a question? How many of you all have wills and stuff done already? And another question would be, have any of you looked at it in the last 7 years? Because that's what we tell people is to come back every 7 to 10 years because things change. They get better, they get worse. You might inherit some money. It's not all about money, but that's a big component of it. And with children, I think I still have my brother and sister-in-law as our fiduciaries and stuff, but my kids are now at the age where I need to swap that out. And it'd be amazed, 7 to 10 years goes by like that, and so it's not something that you forget about, but at least if you do it, you got to know when you have to come back, or if there's a big life event, it's good to stay on top of it. And forms change too. If you've done your estate planning, you probably have a living will or a healthcare proxy. The state of Connecticut has these forms, and they get updated. Not that it's problematic, but always good to have a fresh one. You'd hate to get the wrong person at the hospital to tell you, this thing is 15 years old. It's not good anymore. It is good, but trying to explain that to somebody who doesn't know that can potentially be difficult. So it's a matter of getting that plan done, and the reason, as Ken said, peace of mind. So when I was the judge, and I did it for 4 years, and I got to see all the disputes, and a lot of those disputes were, my father always told me this, or I know my mother wanted this. It doesn't matter. And everything's fine until there's a problem. And even on a simple thing, we had a client one time, there was a sister who was sort of, say, off the reservation a little bit, and this poor gentleman, because he was really sick and there was nobody designated to make the health decision, and this poor guy got intubated like 3 or 4 times, and it was painful. He was never coming out of it, but there was a dispute between the siblings, and that's just the way it went because there was nothing in place. And that's a physical problem, right? And that this poor man suffered for no reason at the end of his life. And then you've got the financial stuff where, you got to have, your ducks in a row. And this might seem simple, but when somebody passes away, your will, your trust is your opportunity to speak. So not just me, but every other judge out there, what does the document say? What did the decedent want? And that's always what governs kind of. They can have all these great ideas and opinions and everything else, but that is first and foremost. So if you don't do your estate planning, then it's all willy-nilly and you don't get the opportunity to speak. And that's, again, if you take nothing away from tonight, that's a real good reason to get it done, because the disputes are kind of like a divorce kind of thing, where it's not necessarily about the silver set. It's about, mom always liked you better, or whatever it may be. These personalities come in, and it can be really, really difficult. And sometimes we would see, kind of family assets get dissipated. So-and-so was doing something they weren't supposed to do. It's really, again, the planning is super important for a million reasons. And as Ken said, the peace of mind, just knowing it's buttoned up. I got a call this morning, just a sad situation, and they didn't look at it for 20 years. And now, there's I won't bore you with the details, but there's a son who's terminally ill, and if he inherits, then there's a good chance the kid has no money. It's all going to go to the state. So we got to switch dad's will and disinherit him. Otherwise, that money would be really well used by the remaining siblings. It's just going to go up in smoke if we don't make this change. So there's a lot to it, and I would want you to tell your attorney, what your goals are, what we're trying to accomplish. The other thing we see a lot of are trusts for kids. Maybe, families are families and they're all a little bit different. Maybe there's a family member who's not real good with money, and people worked hard their whole lives to accumulate some wealth, and to see it wasted in any way, shape, or form is problematic. So you don't want to necessarily disinherit, but you want to maybe put some guardrails on it to make sure that it doesn't get wasted. So there's tools and mechanisms to deal with that. There's also the really pragmatic. So up to now, I've just been talking about, hey, I want my sports car to go here. I want my coin collection to go there. I want things divided up. But there's also a component of tax planning. Those estate taxes, they're harsh. I mean, it's a big percentage. It's not a little thing. So, to the extent you can put some life insurance in a irrevocable trust, or get into a gifting program and all that kind of stuff, because when you run the numbers and you can see, what you can save by implementing some strategies and stuff, it's really eye-opening. So from a fee structure, pay now, pay later. But I think if you can engage in some good estate planning, accomplish what you want, maybe save some money, I think it's a real value add. And then at least you're cognizant of it. Kind of where things are heading. You got to come back in 7 to 10 years. It's all to the good, because the disputes in probate court for people who forget to do it, don't do it, are just they're extraordinary. And it also will end up leading to bad feelings amongst siblings, and that's just terrible from a family perspective. And if that's what mom and dad wanted, then that's what we go with. I think it will do a lot to alleviate some of the unnecessary stress and aggravation later on. Well, thank you for having me.